Alright, hello everyone, and welcome back to our YouTube channel, and today we are reviewing the greatest superhero film ever made.
Oh, yeah.
To preview our thoughts just a little bit, The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Who was directed by Christopher Nolan, just like the last film.
And, no way.
No way. And starring a bunch of famous people.
Yeah, let's see. We have Christian Bale, obviously. Second build, for some reason, is Michael Caine.
Followed by
Heath Ledger, and then Aaron Eckhart.
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Gary
Morgan
Oldman,
Freeman.
and Morgan Freeman. This movie was written by Chris and his brother Jonathan, and the story was written by Chris and David S. Goyer. Made for a budget of around, I think I saw, $185 million, and it made a little over $1 billion when it came out in July of 2008. So,
yeah, it was the second highest grossing movie domestically for a long time.
It might have been a small financial success.
It might have made a little bit of money. But no, it was a huge phenomenon when it came out. I remember.
Seems like Warner Brothers was like, yeah, that last movie did really well. Let's make another one.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So anyway, of course, just getting started. I think we both love this movie.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot that we'll be able to say in this video that hasn't been said already. Yeah. So it might be brief.
Well,
there's really not much you can say that hasn't been said by everyone in the entire world.
But I just think this movie, when you look at it as a whole, it's just. Christopher Nolan, you can just tell, spent so long just crafting every scene just the way he wanted it.
Yep.
And the acting is so great across the board. I mean, Heath Ledger, obviously he posthumously won the Oscar.
Won an Oscar for it.
He's just so amazing in every scene. He steals every scene.
He steals the scene. He steals the show in the movie for sure.
Yeah. And then, of course, Christian Bale is good. I will say,
I think he's better than in Batman Begins.
I think he is, too. If I was to have, one nitpick I'll throw at this movie, and I don't know if it's so much a nitpick as it is just a more praise on Heath Ledger, is that Heath Ledger does outshine the star of this movie and Christian Bale. He's so great.
Heath Ledger was a great talent. I mean, in this film, it's incredible what he was able to pull off. I think he does overshadow Christian Bale. Mm-hmm. Christian Bale suffers in this movie from a lot of the things that he suffered from in the first movie, and it's just almost overacting especially when he puts on the cowl and the cape. Yeah. That voice and the persona that he emulates in those scenes is sometimes a little bit ridiculous. It's kind of goofy, but I think he's better in this movie.
I think he's really good in this movie. It didn't bother me near as much in this movie as it did in Batman Begins. I don't know if it's just because the movie around it is just so amazing. It's not as distracting, but no, I think Christian Bale is really good, and then everybody else, Morgan Freeman and Michael Caine and Maggie Gyllenhaal. I think I don't know, some of her line deliveries at times I felt was a little awkward, but I think she's pretty good for the most part.
I think everyone's really good in the movie.
Maggie Gyllenhaal, I think, is an upgrade over Katie Holmes in terms of acting. But anyway, no, I think all the way across the board.
All the way across the board, acting is really.
And this movie's really long. It's 2.5 hours long, but you don't feel it because it's just so engrossing. I don't think you feel it.
I every time I've ever watched this, I would say it never felt like 2.5 hours to me.
Yeah,
I've always enjoyed every single second of it. So,
and I think it treats all of its characters really well and gives everyone that's important.
All the characters written brilliantly. I mean, each character has their own arc that they follow throughout this movie that gets them from point A to point B in an entertaining and engaging way.
And I love what Nolan does with the character of Harvey Dent in this movie. Yeah. That he was, he was the best of everyone, and then Joker, because Joker actually, he fails in some ways, but he succeeds in others. He fails in proving that all the citizens of Gotham are sick and twisted with the whole boat sequence, but he succeeds in destroying, or at least turning Harvey Dent into a monster like him,
corrupting the best of everyone.
Yeah, I really like that about this movie. That it's not Batman just shows up. And
it's kind of a social commentary at the same time.
Oh yeah, it's definitely
a social commentary on the way the world was in the early 2000s, late 2000s.
Yeah, the post 9/11, fear and all that.
And there's obviously there's that fan theory that goes around about supposedly Heath Ledger's Joker is an Iraqi war veteran, and I think if you really think about that, I mean it kind of is.
Yeah, I mean,
think about.
There's nothing in the movie that you could
particularly
point out and say, okay, this proves it. But yeah, you could definitely say he was some kind of war veteran that just it broke him what he saw. Or he could just be a crazy schizophrenic.
It could be.
Whatever. But no, and I love the portrayal of Joker in this movie. We compare him now, obviously, to Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. And, I'm not going to get into the argument of who was better because they're so different.
They're different. I couldn't say that one is really all that similar to the other in many ways other than in name.
Yeah, because, Heath Ledger is playing a person that has been this way.
Yeah.
And he's very confident, and he's very much what I guess they call controlled chaos.
Yeah.
Like, he's crazy, but, he everything is in control. He's also like OCD. He knows everything that's going to happen, which kind of what I like is that he's hypocritical when he's talking to Harvey Dent about, how everyone is a planner. Even though if you really think about this movie, the Joker is the ultimate planner.
Yeah.
but yeah, they're different in that way. And I think
they portray two different kinds of.
Joaquin's just a broken
Joker.
man.
Yeah, he's just a broken man that was kind of his world pushed him just that far over the edge and turned him into this individual. With Heath Ledger's Joker, he's just freaking a nutcase.
And they have different requirements. Like in this film, Heath Ledger, obviously he plays a big role, but he's very much a supporting character.
Yes.
If you timed out his screen time,
he's probably in it. I think people have done it. He's in it for like 45 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, whereas Joaquin's in literally every scene of the Joker.
2-hour-long
he
movie.
Literally has to carry that entire movie on his back, which I'm not saying that makes him better. I'm just saying it's different. They had to do different things. So
yeah, they're completely different roles.
The
only thing that's the same about him, I'd say, is just the name. They're both Joker.
Joker. But anyway, yeah. Other than that, I mean, yeah. I love Christopher Nolan's dedication to practical effects in this movie.
Yeah,
There's very little CGI.
It's awesome. There's multiple scenes. The one, the whole big nighttime scene with the tunnel. From what I understand, when he drives the Batmobile up under that truck and shoves it up into there, they created a scale model of it and actually took a model tumbler and wrecked it. And
it's my understanding they flipped a real semi.
They flipped a real semi. They closed down part of Chicago streets and flipped a semi.
Yeah.
I mean, that's wild. I also understand that they blew up a hospital or at least an abandoned hospital.
It was scheduled for demolition, I believe.
I think that's what I read.
So
scheduled for
demolition. They
demolition.
demolished it for them. So
I got you.
I mean, it's not the first movie to do that. I've heard of other movies doing that, but
I always will prefer practical effects over CGI.
Yeah. And then when the CGI is used, it's really good in this movie. I'm shocked how good it is for 2008. Really.
Yeah. Cinematography in this movie is gorgeous too. There's a lot of IMAX scenes.
Yeah.
Some of them I don't understand why they're IMAX scenes.
Well,
specifically one sequence with Christian Bale driving a Lamborghini.
Because Lamborghini paid them a lot of money to do that.
But I will say, it's gorgeous, and Christopher Nolan's color palette is always really pretty to look at. That kind of washed out grayish blue thing, I love it. It's so pretty.
I will say that another minor nitpick. I did find the shifting aspect ratio just a couple of times.
Sometimes
it was really obvious, especially when they were doing it in broad daylight, especially.
Yeah, sometimes it's really abrupt.
You could tell, but it's still beautifully filmed.
Yeah.
If I was throwing other little minor nitpicks at this movie, I would say
there's a couple minor plot holes here and there, but I think
I would say plot conveniences.
Yeah.
Like, how did Bruce Wayne get an airplane in Chinese-controlled airspace? I don't know. And I will say, I do think if I'm being completely honest, I think the third act, while still great, still one of the greatest, still probably one of the best third acts in a superhero movie, I think it's actually the least interesting act in this movie because the first two acts, all of the Joker's antics were so personal to all of the major characters.
Yeah.
And then the third act, we kind of have this whole thing with the boat. And I'm not sure I have Nolan's faith in humanity that he shares with the people on this boat, but it's still great. I'm just saying, I think this slows down a little bit for this third act, except until we finally get back around to Harvey Dent and the whole scene with Gordon and his son, which I think is a great
closing scene.
But no, I mean, great all the way around. I love this movie.
It's incredible. It's probably one of my favorites. I think I would definitely say it's my number one movie of all time.
Yeah. I say that at times. My list is always really fluid. I don't know if I would commit to that. It's definitely my favorite superhero movie
It's
by a good margin.
100% my favorite.
And it would be in my
movie.
top 5 favorite movies.
It's probably number 1. It's gonna go on a movie shelf that my parents are building for me.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be the top shelf. Actually, I have the closing final line of the movie that Gordon reads off. I think it's incredible. This movie, it's so well written. It's incredible.
Amazing, yeah. The dialogue, there's so many quotable lines.
Yeah.
And a lot of them delivered by Heath Ledger.
Yep.
I love his put a smile on that face of yours.
Christopher Nolan can write a movie. I'll give him that.
And but no, this movie is just great.
I think this is about as close as you can get to a masterpiece, especially when it comes to making a superhero movie.
Because it's not really like if you stripped away Batman, like
it's not necessarily a
Batman
superhero
wasn't
movie.
an established superhero. This would be a crime drama with a peculiar lead character.
At its core, yeah, it's definitely a crime thriller / crime drama. And it stands on its own 2 feet by a good margin. Even if you took Batman out of it,
even if you don't, I think what's a great thing about this movie, if you don't watch Batman Begins and you just watch this one, you could still. I mean, you're really not missing.
No, it's still a pretty good introduction. Yeah. You just don't get that setup for
You don't get why he's Batman.
Why he's Batman,
but no, I think it's still a very enjoyable whether you watch Batman Begins or not, or even if you don't know anything about Batman, if you never read a comic, if you just barely know the name Batman, I still think it's a great movie.
But even without being a superhero movie, just in movies in general, I think it's about as close as you can get to a perfect movie out there. Of course, every movie you can say a movie's perfect all day long. I mean, there are movies that people we call perfect.
Yeah.
I would probably call this movie perfect, even though it has flaws. But every movie has flaws. I would say every movie out there has some sort of nitpicky flaw that you can be like, it's got that.
We were watching Citizen Kane the other day, and
it's supposed to be regarded as like the best movie ever made.
I was like, I don't know about that.
But there are movies people we call perfect or whatever. But even the most perfect movie out there has some sort of minor flaw or nitpick that people can point out. But this is pretty much perfect in my opinion. It's a masterpiece, I'd say.
So with that being said, you ready to get to buy it?
I think it's pretty obvious what we're going to say. It's definitely a buy it.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think there's anything that we can say or add to it that we haven't said already.
I think buy it. I mean, it's great. If we were giving it a star ranking, it would easily be 5 out of 5.
Easily 5 out of 5.
I mean,
I own this movie in every single home video release version that's ever been released on. I own it on DVD. I own actually two DVD versions of it. I own it on the collector's edition Blu-ray set for the entire trilogy, or I own technically the whole trilogy in every version that's ever been released. And then I own them all on 4K and then digital codes for all of them. So it's up there.
You've bought it multiple times. Yeah, it's definitely worth buying on Blu-ray or 4K or whatever, and watching regularly.
The 4K transfer is really good on this too. If you have the means to get that or you have a setup for that, it's really good.
It's a great movie.
It really lends itself to being a 4K film to watch because Nolan films stuff on film still. Mm-hmm. He actually uses he prefers to film in IMAX or 35 millimeter, and it transfers really well. It looks great.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
But overall,
buy this movie.
Buy it.
Buy this movie, definitely. It's a great movie. It's probably the best movie we're going to talk about for a good while. For a really good while. So
I don't know. We're going to talk about Indiana Jones. I think Raiders is an excellent film to preview my thoughts on that. But
and then we finally get around to John Carpenter's Halloween.
We'll get around.
One of my personal all-time favorites, definitely.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But anyway. I believe
other than that,
next week we will be watching.
Yeah, we're going to watch Raiders of the Lost Ark. And then we'll continue out through the next 4 weeks with all the Indiana Jones movies through King of the Crystal Skull.
That's right.
Other than that, we do have a podcast, if Aaron wants to tell you about it.
That's right. We do have a podcast where we talk about a different giant monster movie every week.
Hence your shirt.
Here's my shirt where, look, Godzilla's like eating Tokyo out of a bowl
what a guy.
or something. But anyway, and we call it Stomp This Way.
Stomp This Way, yeah.
So definitely check that out if you enjoy listening to us. And also just if Mulan still is scheduled to come out July 24th or whatever it is, we'll
review that at
watch
some point.
the cartoon before we watch the movie.
Yep.
That'll be 5 weeks down the road, I guess.
5 weeks down the road, yep.
Look forward to all that.
Other than that, if you want to follow us on our social medias, we're up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So make sure you give us a like or follow over there. I think we're still DNA Film Wars. So if you want to find that, it's out there.
Yeah, definitely. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like this video. And we'll see you next time.
Catch you later.